The moral high ground fallacy, or the appeal to morality, is when someone tries to argue that something must be true, right, or justified simply because they believe it is the right thing to do or the good thing to do, or it is morally superior to an alternative. Maybe not the alternative, but an alternative. Let's talk about what this is, what it looks like, and how to defend against it when someone uses this on you, because guaranteed this will get used on you. Number one, this is when someone argues that because something is morally superior, then it must be true. Because something is morally good and pure, then it must be true, it must be accepted, and it must be enacted just because it feels good. Again, this is an emotional argument. For example, someone says we should give college to everybody because everybody deserves to go to college. All right, that is an argument for morality, argument to appeal to morality. Another one is, well, we should open up our borders here in the United States because everybody wants to come here and it's the land of opportunity and everybody deserves a chance. That is an appeal to morality. Or someone says, well, you can't criticize this guy because he's a good parent and he's trying to do the best for his kids. So the fact that he stole some money from the bank to try to feed his family, he's not a bad guy, so you shouldn't send him to jail. That is an appeal to morality. It's a moral high ground fallacy, because what all of these do is ignore the logistical realities of, does that make sense and does that work if everyone was doing it, or this, just in this individual case, does it logically make sense? You ignore all of that and try to go above it by taking the moral high ground over the logical low ground and saying, well, because the moral high ground is up here, it doesn't matter what the logic says because we should do it anyway. That's the appeal to morality argument. Now, what do you do when someone tries to use this on you? First of all, you must separate the logic from the emotion. This is the first thing you have to do. Most human beings are bad at this. This is the reason why a lot of people are able to pull off the appeal to morality and they're able to get it across the finish line, simply because people are not good at separating their logic from their feelings. You notice politicians are really, really good at this. This is how they get their jobs. So you got to be able to separate. Second thing is, you got to ask them, what are the mechanics of this? How does this actually work? If we actually opened up our borders and allowed anyone to come in, what would actually happen? If we were to give college to everybody, well, what would happen to the professors? Because they are not going to be able to do all that coursework, and who's going to pay for this if everybody's getting it for free and nobody's paying for it? Or again, you must ask people to lay out the mechanics of how this actually works, because emotionally something can sound good, but it's a whole different thing when you take the lab test and you try to make it go work in real life. And third thing you can do is you can expose their nonsense. You can say, okay, what you're saying sounds good and you're arguing from this emotional high ground, but does this actually make any sense logistically if we were to actually do it? And when you hold people's feet to the fire and ask them to make logical sense of an emotional argument, you'll often find they have nothing. Go to the links in my bio, get to working with me directly, and let's take your game from where it's at to where we want it to go. I work with high-level entrepreneurs who want to get paid, who want to get seen, who want to get their game out there. Work on your game.